Okay, before you can produce that data visualization, okay, you have to consult with the data context, okay. So how to consult the data context, okay. So you can ask yourself, okay, these are the questions, okay. There are a lot of questions to ask because we are actually articulating the ideas, okay, the information that you want to produce, okay, that you want to analyze. So we always have to ask ourselves, okay, first, what background information is relevant or essential, okay. So for a particular subject, okay, so you have to also know the context of the data. So you have to do some a little research about the background information, okay, whether it's relevant or essential. And then who is the audience and the decision maker, okay, about the data that you are actually going to produce as visualization. What do we know about them, okay, because they are the one who will use the information that you process, that you analyze, okay, that will help them to make decision, okay. So who are they, okay, the one that will receive that information, okay, and the one who are actually making decision, what do we know about them. And then third is what biases does our audience, okay, have, okay, that might make them supportive or resistant to our message, okay. Do they have any biases, okay, or resistance to our message, okay. So we have to know that because it will help them to cater, okay, for the right information. And what data is available that would strengthen our case. Is our audience familiar with this data or is it new, okay. So so you have to also justify that. And then also you have to ask yourself, where are the risks, okay. What factors could weaken our case and do we need to proactively address them, okay. So so the risk of each data, so what factors could weaken our case, okay, and do we need to proactively address them. So you have to go through, okay, the subject matter of the data and see, okay, because if you don't have all the answers, okay, the audience will come back to you and maybe saying we are not sure about what you are presenting. Maybe there's some mistakes about this, you are not actually showing the right information, okay, it's not being really 100% accurate, okay. So that's why we have to justify ourselves, okay, with all these questions so that it will help us to ensure that we are having the right data context, okay. So at your level, okay, we are not actually asking you, okay, because you are at diploma level, to do this step, okay, in detail, because you are still learning the fundamental concept, but we are exposing to you, okay, the real steps, okay, for consulting data context, okay. So if you go to degree level, okay, so we might cover this in detail, okay. So the expectation will be higher for this, but your level, so we are not expecting like in detail, okay, but we are, as I mentioned, okay, we are exposing to you, okay, what are the right, okay, the right practices, okay, that they are doing in organization when consulting data context, okay. And then the next question, what would a successful outcome look like, okay. If you only had a limited amount of time or a single sentence to tell your audience what they need to know, and what would you say, okay. So these are the two significant for insightful conversation. So insightful conversation means that something that can give you some ideas, okay, some new dimensions or new finding, okay, something that is very quite surprised. I mean, we don't know what to expect from the users, okay, or from the audience, okay. But these two questions can help you as the developer of the visuals, okay, the one who going to produce the visualization, and people who are going to analyze the data, okay, to have some significant insightful conversation, okay. And these are, okay, as we mentioned in the previous slide, as I mentioned in the previous slide, okay, these are the three techniques that can be employed, okay, in order to gain insightful conversation. Okay, so the first one is okay, you can perform a 3-minute story. Okay, and then second is to perform big idea, and the third one is storyboarding, so that this will help us to understand our data context. Okay, so the three techniques. Okay, so this is according to the textbooks that we are referring. Okay, so the author, okay, suggested three techniques. Okay, so the first one, 3-minute story. Okay, so if you only had 3 minutes to tell your audience what they need to know, what would you say? So if you know exactly what it is you want to communicate, you can make it fit the time slot you are given. So meaning that you want to cover, okay, try to summarize, okay, try to summarize the information that you are analyzing, okay, before you can produce a visualization in a 3-minute story, so whether the audience can understand, okay, whether that is what they want to have, okay, in the visualization. So this is one way to help you, okay, to consult with the data context. And the second technique is we can employ big idea technique. So this is introduced by Nancy Duarte in her book Resonate. Okay, so where it consists of three components. Okay, so in big idea, okay, this technique, it must articulate your unique point of view about that particular subject. Okay, and that it must convey what is at stake. Okay, and that it must be a complete sentence. Okay, to define, okay, the data context. Okay, and then the third one is storyboarding. So storyboarding is a visual outline of the content that you plan to create in sequence. Okay, so so that your audience will have some kind of okay, will get the idea of what you want to uh, produce in the visualization according to data context. Okay, so this technique, okay, we're not going to go into detail on how to do them, but as I mentioned, this is just to expose you. These are the three techniques for consulting data context. Okay, so this is a case study on how we can see the implementation of the three different techniques. Okay, so this is a scenario. Okay, so it's the case study is about experimental pilot summer learning program on science. Okay, on science subject. Okay, so you can read this. Okay, so and these are the three techniques, okay, that is used, okay, in order to help, okay, okay, to help the analysts, okay, to come out, okay, with the right understanding of the data context in order for them to produce the right visualization. Okay, the case study is about okay, a scenario in a school, okay, of a 4th grade science teacher. Okay, they have actually conducted an experimental pilot summer learning program during school holidays on science subjects. Okay, so with the intention to give kids exposure to unpopular subjects, okay, such as science subjects. Okay, so and then from the first summer camp program, so they see that, okay, that it was a great success story and they want to continue, okay, the program. Okay, but before they can go forward, so they have to present to the top management, okay, whether it is actually is a right decision to continue this project, because it maybe cost a lot, okay, involve high cost. So with then, you know, because they want to present, okay, some information to the top management, so they have to analyze, okay, their findings, their information, okay, before they can produce some analysis, and the last thing is produce some visualization of charts, okay, to show the performance of student, for example. Okay, so in the big idea, okay, this is the finding, okay, or how you can analyze, okay, the content or the scenario. Okay, so what is big idea? You go back to the previous slide. Okay, so it has three components. It must articulate your unique point of view, why it is very unique, why you want to have that course, okay, to be running for the next term, for example. So it must convey what is at stake, and it must be a complete sentence. Okay, So you go back here. So it says the pilot summer learning program was successful at improving students' perception of science, and because of this success, we recommend continuing to offer it going forward. Please approve our budget for this program. Okay, so this is the big idea. Okay, and then techniques. Okay, in order to justify, okay, the data context. Okay, if you are going for storyboarding, so you are actually planning the flow of the story. So what is the issue? Okay, and then you demonstrate the issue. Okay, what are the ideas for overcoming issue? Okay, and then describe what is the pilot program goals, etc., and then show before and after survey data to demonstrate the success of the program. So this one you can produce charts, for example, okay, to show, okay, the survey data. And then last is to recommend recommend that it was a success and expand it. So we need money. Okay, so this is storyboarding. So if you employ 3-minute story, so in the 3 minutes you explain, okay, to the top management, okay, so what is summer program and how can we do it, okay, so why do we need money and so on, okay. Okay, so remember, okay, go back to this slide, okay, the 3-minute story. So if you have 3 minutes, so what you want to say, if you know exactly what it is that you want to communicate, you can make it fit in the time slot you are given. So meaning that, so that's why it looks quite longer, because you have 3 minutes, you can summarize everything, okay, to the top management. So these are the 3 techniques, okay, for us to in order for us to, okay, consulting, okay, our data context, okay, so that it helps us, okay, to produce the right analysis and the right visualization before the further decision can be made by top management. Okay, this is example of big idea worksheet. Okay, so for that big idea worksheet, okay, the technique, okay, so there are 3 parts. Okay, so you have to define who is your audience. Okay, these are some questions that you can ask yourself. Okay, what does your audience care about? List the primary group or individuals to whom you will be communicating. If you had to narrow to a single person, who would that be? What act on does your audience need to take? Okay, and then for the second content, what is at stake? What are the benefits if your audience act in the way you want them to? Okay, who are at the risk if they do not? Okay, so this is actually to show that whether, wow, this is very important, we have to carry on this program and so on. So this is, okay, forming your big idea. So you create in one sentence, okay, one in a complete sentence, okay, articulate your own points view, convey what is at stake, and make sure it's a complete in a single sentence. So as you can see here, it's only in one sentence, okay, so it is very compact, okay, and it's very concise. So that is the big idea. It's just one sentence. In the 3-minute story, it can be many sentences because we have 3 minutes to explain. Okay, the storyboarding, okay, you are actually showing the flow, okay, what information that you want to show, okay, flow from this one note is actually showing one content, it goes to another content, and so on. Okay, so this is taken from the textbook. Okay, this is a big idea worksheet. So so this is just to expose you on how people are actually consulting data context. Okay, then to recap the importance of data context. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we were discussing about type of analysis. So before we know our data context, so first we have to differentiate between exploratory versus explanatory. Okay, so explanatory is our focus, so you have a specific focus, you know your data context. Okay, so meaning that you want to communicate a specific story, okay, using explanatory. For exploratory is also important because this is the first stage of analysis. Before we can get explanatory, we have to go through exploratory. So in your case, you don't have to explore the data, okay, because I mean, because you are still at diploma level, so we are not actually want you to find a big database. Okay, so in your context will be easier. Okay, so don't worry much about that. Okay, so you will just be focusing on the data. Okay, so in exploratory you are analyzing and understanding, but in explanatory you are focusing on the specific data context. Okay, and where to begin? First, okay, you have to ask yourself, who is your audience? You have to be specific. Who are they? What is their relationship to you? So maybe they are your audience, they are your customer, okay? And then what motivates them towards that data? Okay, what keeps them up at night, for example? Okay, and then what do you need them to do? Okay, you have to be explicit. Explicit means you have to be detailed. Okay, detail. Okay, explicit. Okay, don't assume they will connect the dots. Okay, how to implement, how to create, how to change, how to support, how to empower. So you have to be explicit, okay, about the information, okay, that you want to analyze. Okay, because because that's why you have to consult your data context so that you will get the right information, okay, to produce the right visualization. And the last one is how is, will the data help make your point? So you have to be discerning, meaning that you have to know what type of charts, the right implementation, the right visualization, okay, that will help them to use this as evidence, okay, before they can make decision. Okay, so basically this is the importance, okay, of data context.